4th episode of CloudFocus Weekly Asterix for the second week of June 2019. This episode is titled Ohana Tours. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Arkus, and we are hiring. If you are a Salesforce consultant or admin with a lot of experience and want to be part of a unique and growing company, send your resumes to careers@arkusinc.com. That's careers@arkusinc.com, or you can go to the website and there's a careers page. Either way, I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me, co-host with the most, 304 times undisputed champion of podcasting, Justin Edelstein. How you doing, Justin?
I'm the Ruiz of podcasting, baby.
Just don't go down to your native land and get shot in the back by somebody.
Well, that's Big Poppy.
I know. I don't know.
Unfortunately.
It's my only sports reference I have for today since football's not going on. All right, we have a big agenda today. We have some thoughts on TDX because we went.
CloudFocus Monthly, we are.
We did Pro Bono Day. Wes, what to talk about? Salesforce yesterday bought Tableau. And we then ended yesterday with a more Ohana than we can possibly know what to do with, as we went up and were invited to and celebrated the opening of the Ohana Force up in the Salesforce Tower here in New York on Bryant Park. So we'll talk about that. We'll make our picks once Justin gets his in there, and then we'll be out.
You mean put it on this document?
Yeah, that's sort of how it works. 304
right.
times.
Got it.
Like this summer, we will be. So we started. What did we say? 2000. What year did we start this? 2000.
I think we started this in 2010.
All right, so 9 years. Niner. All right. First of all, we went to TDX this year. Third year in a row, I think, of going.
What TDX? This was my second.
Yeah. What do you think?
I continue to tell anyone I can, and I should probably stop doing this. Can we let's take this down because I don't want TDX to get too big.
Oh, okay. So what are you telling them?
It's terrible. Nobody should go ever.
Go.
Just don't even think about it. Don't go. Shh. Okay.
I think
all of those people.
I think this was the fourth year. Yeah, because I think I missed the first year.
I think I missed the first.
I think you missed the first two.
I might have missed. Well, didn't they do one with Destination Success at some point? Like that was a thing. They did them together.
That was the merge 2 years ago.
Oh, well.
Anyway, separated.
Anyway,
so
it's a great event.
It's
a fantastic event. It's called the Developer Conference. I would call it a Developer and Administrator Conference, or really just anyone who's doing anything on this platform conference.
It's a
really.
Doers conference, not a marketer.
If you're doing things, marketers do things. If you're doing things on this platform and you want to learn more about how to do things on this platform or see what other people have done on this platform, and the platform I'm talking about is obviously Salesforce, this is your conference. You go to sessions, you actually learn things. You're not being told stories. You're not being told, this is what we plan on doing, and this is the vision for what we're doing with Einstein Analytics. Whoops. And anyway, you really get to see, here's how this is done. And you're watching people, if you're a developer, you're watching code. You're watching people write lines of code in front of you, or at least copy and paste a few lines that then you watch in real time and see things. And even during the keynote, it was more of a callback to, let's show you something. Like, hey, look, you want to develop locally? Check this out. And they just showed us on a live demo. Here it is. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Here it is. And it was pretty cool to see, more of a, maybe late 2000s Dreamforce is what Trailhead DX is currently to me.
Before Dreamforce became the big marketing machine that it is. And this is what we always loved about Dreamforce, but I think is maybe what is the issue with Dreamforce now. Again, I love me some Dreamforce, and I'm all excited about it. And as the years gone on, I've come to a different place with Dreamforce and TDX and all these things. But TDX is... So Dreamforce is a conference for everybody. It is a conference for partners, for prospects, for customers, for admins, for developers. It is the conference for everybody. And it always has been, and it grew and grew and grew. But the keynotes and sort of the vibe of it became, and there were tracks, there was whole developer tracks, there's tons of different things, but it became A, massive, and B, so when you have and B, the keynotes became very just, yes, here's the world, here's what the future looks like, here's the fourth industrial revolution, and less, here's product specific stuff, here's features, here's showing. And so TDX, certainly, although sadly TDX is kind of moving that way, because years ago, or a couple years ago, I remember sitting in a much smaller room for the conference, for the keynote, and it being very much almost like a session with over an hour of looking at someone's screen and developing stuff and showing stuff, and it was very much, and here, let me show you how to do this and show you how to do this. That was the keynote. Now they've kind of brought in some of that Dreamforce-y.
Yes.
Here's some stories.
3. It's always 3. It's like a magic number, right? Haven't you noticed this in the big keynotes? It's always boom, boom, boom. 3 different stories. Although these were not focused on the company. It was focused on the trailblazer.
So it definitely had a definite trailblazer, which is clearly, the marketing of the day is trailblazer and trailblazing and trailhead. This is all awesome stuff, but it still has that feeling of code.
Yes.
And
it was a
interesting
celebration of people who were able to bring that into their organizations and make change happen.
And so the big keynote, from the Salesforce executive was Parker. But what was interesting was I saw him sneak in. Benioff was there.
Yeah.
He snuck in. He said something, and then he went, but he never went up on stage.
No.
And I think that too kind of separates it, because you feel like Parker's sort of the back-end doer,
is Parker's conference.
platform person, and Benioff's the forward, dreamy, put your heart together, which we'll talk about in a second,
And Keith Block wasn't there. He just wasn't even there.
Bummer.
Right. But what I mean to say is to echo
that's
that,
when
right?
I lost my MVP status.
Right? And then, Keith Block just came right after you just now.
Yeah.
And
don't listen,
but
Keith, just
that
download.
just really underscores it, because this is more of the Parker conference, and Dreamforce is more of the Mark conference. And if that's how you want to play it, just think about, what that means to you. What is a Parker thing versus a Mark thing, and decide for yourself, hey, go to both. Or if you have to pick one,
pick the one that's right for you.
Pick the one that's right for you. Yeah. If you're in sales and or maybe you're just getting into this and you need to drink some of the Kool-Aid, go to Dreamforce.
Go to Dreamforce.
If you've been in this for a couple years and you want to just go and pound out some stuff and see some people that you probably already know and been in the ecosystem and
learn.
Yeah. Go to
now,
this.
That being said, so it was all in Moscone West.
That's the
great.
best.
That's the best part. You don't have to fly between hotels. You also, when you walk around San Francisco, you don't feel like you're still in the conference. You walk out and you don't see everybody with their backpacks and all that. It's very localized.
No backpacks, by the way.
Which I think is great.
No backpack. Hey, this was your thing a while back.
Yeah,
no backpacks. Stop it.
Stop giving all this
Stop
crap that
You're
just gets
into the
thrown
environment.
away.
Knock it off.
Right. Other than that, I think the sessions are nice. There's definitely, it's got the same stuff with, there's special sessions, but it's just it's almost much easier to get into because it's in one place. You're sitting downstairs, you're like, oh, let's go upstairs and go to the keynote, as opposed to, oh crap, I got to cross half the city to go to the keynote.
2 things you learned at TDX.
I didn't learn anything. I never learned anything. No, that's not true. From a Salesforce perspective?
I could go first if you want.
I mean, I have one.
All right, I asked for 2, but I'll take one.
All right. I'm just thinking one that it has to be from a product's perspective, or can be
whatever,
from
just something you learned. I mean, you went there to learn something. What'd you learn?
No, I don't go there to learn things.
All right.
That's not why I
Forget
go to TDX.
it. You want me to do
yes,
this?
go ahead.
Do this. Fine.
Wait, hold on. Justin,
Yeah.
2 things you learned at TDX.
Oh, yeah, no problem, Jason.
Yeah.
I learned becoming a certified technical architect is incredibly difficult.
That's
and
good.
There's a reason why there are so few on this planet. I went to a session that talked about the process of how to go about becoming one. And boy, oh boy. To those of you who are listening to this who are CTAs, hats off, congratulations, incredible achievement. Because that is really hard. As someone who has taken and passed a lot of certification tests, that seems like an extremely daunting task. So if you come across a CTA, if you're talking to a CTA, know that you're talking to someone who really knows what's what. Like whoever's standing across from you having that conversation with you, they know their stuff and they know how to talk about it and they know how to plan out a solution. That was sort of mind blowing. Like the amount of work that has to go into that level of certification and how many times people take it and fail it. Yeah. It's incredible.
It's very difficult.
Incredible.
I got one I learned.
Yeah, what'd you learn?
I learned that Salesforce believes or is believing again in open source.
Yes.
One of, I think, the big announcements was Lightning Web Components. The framework itself was open source. And I, for those of you who are out there, open source, open source, what does it mean? Open source is where you take the code, what's behind it, and you make it freely available with limitations, but freely available for everybody to use and or contribute to. And there's all different levels of that. We won't get into it. But I like it when companies do that because it kind of makes it bigger than them. They're not just protecting these walled gardens. And Salesforce is an incredibly big walled garden. I mean, everything, they can say, oh, you get a free developer account, whatever, but it's all license-based. The entire thing's license-based, right? It's not, it is a very...
Once you have a license, though, it's pretty open.
No, it's still a closed environment. Everything you want is pay, and you want this feature, it's pay. Anyway.
Get your API going.
So, but the Lightning Web Components being open source. That being said, my other thing that I learned is Salesforce also learns from its mistakes, which I really like about Salesforce. The move to Lightning Web Components away from Aurora is kind of a, hey, look, they would say the timing wasn't there and we had to build it because it didn't exist. But now looking back with hindsight,
I don't know if that was true or not.
Well, that's the
I
point.
mean, that's what they'd say, but I don't know if that's true.
That's why I'm saying it. But I like that they learned from their mistake, which was they tried to create their own framework for web components and for their own UI framework, and basically kind of went and kind of failed at it. I feel, and then kind of had a reverse course 3 years later. Oh wait, no, let's do this web components thing. Much better, based on standards. Oh, and let's open source it so everybody can use it. Oh, right, okay, that's better.
Right.
So it's based on much more. So those are the two things I learned.
So I learned about something that I should have known about already, but didn't. And I'm glad that this is why I go to these conferences, because you start talking about something that you want to find out about, and someone just points you in the right direction. I wanted to learn about how to take a Lightning community and be able to just publish it simply
in
as
the session I went to for you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I told you to go to it for me. I was going to go to it, but I had I can get into my dental emergency if you'd like.
No,
because
please. I was way too involved with it. I was sitting next to you as you ate your own tooth.
Yeah.
Or cap or whatever it
was.
We'll
leave it at that.
Okay. You sure?
Well, we could keep going.
We talk about the strainer the next day? No.
That didn't happen. I wasn't fishing for it. So I learned that there's a product out there, the thing called My Salesforce, that we were like, where is this? What is it? Well, it's out. It's available and it's there.
The joke is you went to learn about something that there's a help article on.
Yeah, but so what? I needed the guidance towards it. So there's as a part of that My Salesforce product, there is a subset called Mobile Publisher for Community Cloud, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to take an already existing Lightning template community and turn it into a native mobile app experience. And they have this. It's called Mobile Publisher for Community Cloud. It's basically your own community, and it scales down as it would. It's very responsive already on the mobile web, so it wraps it, I guess, in an app. You have persistent authentication, which is the thing, right? So you get to use the phone's authentication, whatever that might be, whether it be biometric or a key code or something, to get you in, so you can close and open the app without having to log back in, which is a huge thing. If you're doing a mobile community, it's like, hey, when I open up my Facebook app on my phone, I don't have to log in every time. Why do I have to do this with yours? Oh, okay. Now you don't.
How much does it cost?
I think on the sticker, it's $25K one time.
$25K one time,
which is like
plus $99 for the developer for the Apple.
If you want to do it on Apple, but that's the thing, you could do it Apple or Android or both. And for $25K one time shot, I think you're making out pretty well there, because you're not having to deal with it's SDK free. No mobile SDK, no integrations required. You don't have to deal with that nonsense. You get your updates across both apps as you just update the community itself. Salesforce takes care of the rest.
Yeah,
They're giving you these
it's a
features.
wrapper for the community, and that inherits, and they've built some stuff in it. 25K seems, yes, if you're going to go build your own app, your own mobile app, 25K is a bargain.
One time though, and all the updates and upgrades as it gets, better and moves along.
But
you
then
just
seems a little steep. That seems a little steep to me, because it seems
Why?
like
It's one time
because it's one time, but that's a steep one-time cost.
to build a mobile app.
Yes, for example, CloudFocus Weekly
CloudFocus Weekly doesn't have
has a mobile app on both platforms, and it costs us $10. So we know that you can have a mobile app on both platforms for $10.
We also know that you can have a mobile app on both platforms for free called Salesforce Mobile. And if you feel like telling your community members how to hack a URL to log in, then you have it for free.
Again, somewhere between. So I know what the market is. I know how much it costs to Tuesdays. This feels like I could see this dropping down in a couple of years. It's one of those.
I saw the interface for it too. They give you a good management console so that you don't have to go out to Apple or Android and worry about
really
the Google
well
Play
done.
stuff.
It's really well done.
I was pleased to see that it existed, that it has push notification stuff in it, that it has local file storage, that it caches things. I was very happy with the product itself. I just want to get my hands on it to play with it, because I know that there are a couple of clients of ours that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it again saw the demo, saw the whole thing. The roadmap looks good. They're going to allow for offline, amazing. So great product. All right, let's talk about. That should be your pick of the week, but let's talk about.
I'll take it.
All right, you take it. You can move this.
Done.
You can move this other one. You can save it.
I'll save this other one.
So we did just a little, maybe not self-promotion, a little bit, but we do for Arkus does as part of our 1-1-1-1 policy, our pledge 1%. We do what are called pro bono days, which are sort of half-day sessions where we invite a lot of nonprofits to come in. We do a couple, either sessions or informational or demos of stuff. And we did our first one out in the West Coast, Pro Bono Day West, and we did it right before TDX. I found interesting that we did it around TDX because a lot of us were going to be out there, so it made sense. But then as I talked to people who showed up to it, and it's free, by the way, it's just free.
That's why it's called Pro Bono Day.
That's right. And then
it's implied.
And then as I was talking to people, I'm like, oh, so you going to TDX? They're like, what? I was like, oh, so you going to what? Are you here for TDX tomorrow? What? So it was interesting that I thought it'd be most people would be there because they were there for TDX. No, they weren't. They didn't even know about it. So that was kind of fun. And then I guess the last thing, well, maybe we'll wrap that into the second story. Let's talk about what Salesforce did yesterday.
Which thing?
Well, the thing
They
they
did two
bought
things yesterday.
The thing that they bought yesterday.
Tableau?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Tableau. I got an interesting story, actually, for you about this.
Okay.
So,
Is this like a story I've already heard? I'm going to pretend
I
know?
I love how you just threw a link in the agenda that just searches Google for Salesforce buys Tableau. Thank you for that. It's super useful.
It is, because then you get like 17 articles.
Super useful.
You don't like multiple articles?
Let me tell the story first,
All right, go for it.
then you can talk about the logistics of this deal. So I was at Salesforce World Tour New York. I'm going to not say names to protect the innocent.
No one's innocent in this case.
But I'm going to tell the story nonetheless. So I'm standing there with one of our clients who I work with, and their Salesforce account executive and that account executive's manager. So this is their salesperson and their salesperson's manager. And our client starts asking them about Einstein Analytics, and they're legitimately interested in it. They're asking, like, Einstein Analytics, what is it? How's it work? And then, I let Salesforce kind of talk about it. I wasn't going to jump in the middle of their thing. And they then asked the follow-up, so we already have Tableau, like, how do they compare? And the manager of the account executive looked right at the client and said, you already have Tableau? Keep it. You're better off. And that was well before he could have ever known that this was in the works, because you know that
Yeah, I
this,
know.
only a handful of people would ever know that this is happening.
Well, no, that was World Tour, right? That was like 3
World
4
Tour.
weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago.
At least a good month and a half ago. There's no way that a sales manager would have known this at that level.
That's
Let's
true.
put it that way. And he straight up was just like, yeah, you have a better tool already. So clearly their Salesforce was struggling with Einstein Analytics, right? Because they have a product that's supposed to compete with Tableau. And rather than competing and innovating, this is now the mode that they are in. When was the last time that they built something real? They just buy stuff now.
Well, I would say you look back, and we talk about this all the time, they buy a lot of things.
A lot.
But it's really, they iterate on the platform, but they also buy a lot of stuff. Listen, if you're going to grow, you have to buy stuff. You can't just, they don't have enough developers, enough people to grow.
But even Einstein Analytics was a series of purchases.
Yeah.
So, like,
Pretty much everything's a series of purchases.
But what now? Like, so just that series of purchases wasn't good enough, so buy more things? Like, to make your analytics play a little better?
Well, this is the
What's
largest
the next marketing purchase?
This is the largest they've ever purchased. So $15.7 billion, all stock.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. I posted in our Slack channel. I was like, oh yeah, 2021, winter 2021, it'd be great. We'll see something about this. I mean, obviously they'll do a big thing at Dreamforce about it. I mean, I'm not a Tableau user. Never even touched it. So
I asked
okay.
all our guests, like, hey, who's played with this? And only a handful of people have even played with it.
I've heard about it for years and years and years and years.
Oh, when I worked at New Leaders 10 years ago, we had Tableau.
Yeah.
We had Tableau because it was a great way to visualize data. They can integrate with Salesforce way back then, and you could look at dashboards on your iPhone. Like, that was the thing 10 years ago, and for Tableau.
On the iPhone.
Yeah, and fast forward 10 years, and you're like still struggling to even wrap my head around what Einstein Analytics is, and now I shouldn't even care.
Well, clearly everybody was having a problem with Einstein. I think one of my things with Einstein Analytics is you're mixing these two things. Like, Einstein is supposed to be about AI, right?
Yeah,
artificial intelligence.
Turned it into a brand.
And analytics is about analytics. And data visualization isn't necessarily about artificial intelligence and data visualization. I would suggest hey, you listening? Hey, Keith, you listening? Separate those two things. Stop doing this thing where you just take the new brand and put it in front of everything. Want me to give you 17 examples of this? Chatter threw it in front of everything. Einstein threw it in front of everything. Lightning threw it in front of anything. Everything became lightning blah, lightning blah, lightning blah. Einstein blah, Einstein. Keep the things what they mean. Einstein Analytics, and I know they will say, well, there are some parts of it that are AI driven, but clearly that's missing the message. And it's mixing up the message. We might as well call it Lightning Analytics for that. I don't know. So I would call it Lightning Analytics. This thing is basically hey, we weren't getting the traction. We were losing business to this company over and over and over again. People couldn't wrap their heads around. And I think they're way behind in the market, so they decided to buy it, and they probably get, tons and tons of people. I don't know how many people actually work there. The two interesting things came out. One is that Google had bought one similarly called Looker, right? Smaller. That was one interesting. The other thing is that that Tableau is based in Seattle and has a huge offices and all that in Seattle. Yep. So some of the articles were talking about how this was Salesforce's kind of foothold in Seattle. So again, they might buy it for reasons of market, but one of them might be, we need a foothold in Seattle. Instead of trying to go build one, we just buy one. Now we have a foothold. Employees, slap a big Salesforce logo on a building, take the top floor, call it Ohana, and you're done. Look at how I did that, right? All right. And then lastly, last night, Justin and I were invited to the opening of the Ohana floor in the Salesforce Tower in New York, which is in Bryant Park, which is funny because just 2 weeks ago at TDX, we also went up to the Ohana floor and got a tour of that one. So it's kind of just seeing the two coasts and their Ohana floors. They're very similar, although one, and even similar in height. Like one's at 42, one's at 61, something like that.
Yeah, it was 41.
It was just crappy weather yesterday, so we could see nothing.
We couldn't see anything out the window.
So It was very cool. We didn't go to the ceremony, obviously, for the Ohana one in San Francisco, but that top floor is, if you haven't got a chance, first of all, it's open to the public, so you can go up there. It's pretty amazing. You should take a shot. It is just some of the best views of San Francisco. And such a cool space.
Stunning up there. Yeah. I mean, really, and purpose-built for it.
Yes.
Which is the difference between the New York one. Like, the New York building already existed. Right. Salesforce threw their name on it and then got whatever floors they got, including the top one, and then had to sort of just retrofit what I imagine their ideal scenario is, which is the San Francisco one, because San Francisco's an actual circle.
Yeah.
Shape of the building is round. This is a rectangle, so it's not really circular up there. It's more just like, okay, I could go around the hall, but still very cool.
But yesterday was fun because yesterday was fun because Benioff was there, and they did the whole ceremony and Hawaiian music and the whole basically. He asked at the beginning, he's like, "Who here has been to a Hawaiian ceremony?" And we're all like, raise our glasses because it's like, well, we've been to Dreamforce.
Yeah, I've seen that guy
and that band
thing a lot at Dreamforce.
I didn't know where his wife was.
His wife was still in Hawaii, apparently.
Right.
I don't know. What's his name? Akaka, I think is his last name.
I mess up last names so badly. I'm not gonna try.
I just feel like that's his name. I might be completely wrong, but he's the guy who always opens up Dreamforce ceremonies with the conch shell
and the prayers,
and the lays and the prayers. And
I did learn yesterday that the meaning of Hawaii. Yeah. I mean, when the three different pieces and the heart and the sea and the.
It's not heart.
Yeah, it was.
No, breath,
sea, and what was the last one?
Breath, sea. I don't remember the I. Was it God?
Yes.
I think it was.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. So you learned that.
I
forgot it.
But yeah, watching Mark and spiritual advisor kind of get real close was interesting.
When they put their noses together.
They're literally staring at each other nose to nose. And Mark's like a foot taller.
He had to bend down.
Bends down. They get nose to nose, literally touching, and they're mic'd, so you can hear them breathing. It's like, that's cool.
It did give me a little bit, and I said this to you yesterday, and I'll say it on air, but it did give me the little bit of the Silicon Valley show of Gavin, where he has a spiritual advisor around him all the time, giving spiritual advice, and it did there was this moment I'm sitting there. It was a nice ceremony, but there was a moment I'm like, here's this billionaire and his spiritual person.
This billionaire on his sixth Ohana floor on the top floor of some city somewhere. He's got his advisor there going nose to nose for a minute. It's like everyone else is just standing around kind of staring at it, eating gourmet food and drinking drinks.
It was some good food, I will say, and they had one of your favorite restaurants there.
They did. Dirt Candy from New York City.
Shout out. There you go. All right, let's do our picks, and then we'll come back. By the way, next week we will be back next episode, because we are not weekly.
Next month.
We will be back we're going to do a whole episode on Summer 19. So we didn't forget about that. We will do that. So why don't you make you already made your pick of the week.
I made my pick. It's the My Salesforce Community Mobile Publisher.
Great. I'm going to make my pick this.
Oh, that thing's cool.
Yeah, so basically, since Apple gave up stopped making their, base station?
Time capsule.
Time capsule base station, which was both a drive and a router in the same thing, and you could time machine up to it, which was nice for backup. They stopped making it. So we at Arkus had to come up with another solution. I did some research and then piloted having an external drive. So I'm making my pick, the Licie, Licie, 2 terabyte mobile drive. Two things. I mean, it is just a mobile drive. It's not really a big of a deal. One thing, it's very small. It's like a size of a passport, maybe a little bit thicker. If you went to a lot of places in your passport. You can get it in the color that matches the Mac, which I like. And then the other thing about it is it's straight up USB-C. So it both is powered by and connects by USB-C. So you just connect it up with the cable you have, or you can daisy chain it in with your monitor. USB-C, I think is going to be the winner. I think Lightning is probably not going to win. So Lightning's going to go away.
Winner, like, for now.
No, I feel like, well, I mean, Apple always plays this game where they come up with their own thing, and then they kind of do the standards as well, and I think they're going to not do. I think Lightning's going to go away.
Lightning should just disappear because this is a standard. Can we just deal with it? The thing is small enough that it can just go on the other side. It does all the things.
It does all the things.
And it's got more throughput than a Lightning cable, doesn't it?
I don't know about that, but I also know it's just more standardized. There's no downside, I don't think. Yeah. Anyway, so it's about $95. I think you can only purchase on Apple, though, this version.
For real?
Yeah, you can only purchase. There's some things they only sell out of the Apple store.
Oh.
Like that battery I bought you for Christmas. That's
that was
Apple
nice
only.
One. I don't celebrate Christmas.
Okay, the holidays. They only sell that in Apple.
Really?
So yeah,
that's a good one. I really like that. What's the brand that makes that one? It's that battery brand that
Mophie.
Mophie, yeah, the one that's like super popular.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
Yes.
I can't get the piece of it to work that I thought would work.
It's the other way around. It can charge off a Q charger.
So
it doesn't charge.
Okay, so you can put it on one of those things that'll charge stuff. Just charge it, and then you can plug it in to some other thing if you want to.
That's correct. All right.
That's pretty good.
All right. Well, we'll be back.
I like it.
And whenever the next podcast happens, we'll be talking Summer 19. As always, follow us on Twitter at Just Edelstein, at Jason M. Atwood, at Arkus Inc. Remember, we're in the Success Community and Power of Us group hubs. We have our own groups in there, or tags, I guess, now in Power of Us Hub. We're on the LinkedIn. We're not on the Google Plus anymore. Bye-bye, Google Plus. And remember, there's tons of places you find on the website. You can subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google, TuneIn. I think we're even trying to get us into someplace else. Not Spotify, SoundCloud.
Yeah, we need to be in SoundCloud. You know what we're missing? SoundCloud.
Gotta be in SoundCloud.
I mean, this podcast basically doesn't exist. You know why? It's not on SoundCloud.
Not on SoundCloud. All right. Until
if
then,
you're listening to this on SoundCloud, I don't know how you're listening to this.
Well, they're not, because it's not there yet.
Oh, all right.
We're going to be there soon. And remember, there's apps for us. We have apps in the app stores, so you can download the app and get some fun content.
Apparently, it costs $10.
It costs us to publish it.
To make. It
not
costs $10.
$25.
So maybe it costs like $10 to make that thing. That's it.
Think about that. If they're
awesome.
selling it for 10, that means it's
made 2 cents to make it.
That's how cheap it is
pretty
to make
good.
those things. Yeah. Not $25K.
It's $25K. Anyway. Can you just lay off?
Why?
It's a whole different thing.
No, it's really not. It's a wrapper for
a different thing.
It's a wrapper.
It's a whole nother thing. Just leave it alone, could you?
Why are you so defensive of this
product
that you didn't know existed? Then you found out existed. Then you found out it was $25K.
You're all like, it didn't work. You haven't even done it or used it or seen it. It's like, hey, is Salesforce worth however much it costs a month? $130, $140 a month. That's expensive.
For all the things it does? Sure. For that product, it's too expensive. Listen, Einstein Analytics, it's too expensive. Why do you think they bought Tableau?
Because they charge more for it.
So they couldn't sell Salesforce.
Charge a little more.
Listen, that product at $25K one time is too damn much.
You're wrong, but okay.
Okay, it's an opinion. So it's my opinion. Too much. Okay.
Hey, let's do a bake-off. And I compared it
to a real product.
I'm gonna give you a fully done mobile ready community, but it's just a community. I'm gonna give it to you. Okay. Here you go. I'm gonna take one for myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna spend $25K and get my app launched.
Yeah.
You go get an app launched. Let's see how much time and money it takes you to get it launched, and then we'll compare apples to apples.
Okay.
Go on. I mean, see how much it takes you to get the app launched,
might be
build
the lowest,
figure it out.
Lowest point of your podcasting career.
See how long it takes you to get it done.
Okay, I'll head right out and
Let's
do that.
do that.
Yes.
Well, how else would you compare?
I love you're defending a product that doesn't exist. You have not even touched.
How else?
And you're like, it's the greatest. It's worth $25K. I've never rolled it out, but it's worth $25K. I'm like, I've seen these things in the market. I'm comparing it to the existing market.
I'm telling you.
You're telling me.
Yes. That we can actually do this. We can go figure out if it's more efficient to pay the $25K and do it and get it up online and out onto app stores, get our community app out there. And I'll say to you, you can't use this method. Figure it out. and we'll see.
Go hire a developer.
Great. Go do it.
Have them build a wrapper.
Okay.
A web wrapper.
Good.
And build in some features.
Good. Let's do that. Let's see how it works. See how good,
I do not accept
when the
your
next
challenge.
release comes out, like how well your stuff still works. Like, let's just do all this stuff.
You don't know how well.
Let's do
Stop
it.
defending something that you've
Let's
never
do it.
used.
Let's bake it off.
It's like
bake it off, man.
It's like you had a kid or something, and I'm like,
Let's bake it
I'm
off.
saying your kid is like
Let's-
stupid. You're
well,
like, what do you know? It's not.
I mean,
This product I've
you're-
never used ever in my life. I'm so defending it. I'm defending
I'm
the price
gonna
of it.
defend it because
why?
because you're ragging on it.
No, I'm not ragging on it. I'm saying it's too expensive.
That's
compared
called
to other
ragging
things.
on it.
No, it's not.
It's called-
It's expensive compared to other things. I quickly came up with one example within seconds that cost $10, and I'm like, oh, compared to $25K, and you know what? They're both co-branded. They're both in the App Store. They're both 100% downloadable, and they both have a limited set of functionality that they kind of wrap around something else. And I'm like, look, that's a good example. Now I can come up with tons of. I'm telling you, it's expensive for the market.
Okay.
It is expensive for
If
the
you
market.
feel that way, I disagree.
You have done no research. You've never looked into this. I've looked into what it takes to build apps. I've actually built apps on the exchange. I built my first app for $5K. I paid a developer
But it
and built an
wasn't.
app.
But it wasn't already existing with
Yeah,
Salesforce.
it was also 10
It
years
didn't-
ago, and the
it
thing
did
didn't even
not.
exist.
That's right. So it costs more now.
Yeah, this is the convenience thing, and that's why they're being able to sell it for $25K, because they pumped a bunch of money into it, and they're going to get their money back, and then they will lower it because it's too expensive. Like most of their things, it starts off really wonderful and too expensive. Like my Trailhead, it's too expensive per $25 per user per month. I think that's it. That's too expensive. It's just too much. But they'll make their money back, and people will buy it. And big corporations, that's to them, it's like no brainer. So this feature has been on the market for many other places and is much, much cheaper. Because they control the wall, they're charging $25,000, which is fine. In your use case, it's actually fine and a good use case, and that company will have a fine purchasing it. Okay, then. Well, that's a little fun. We just had a little fun. People like it when we bicker.
I think they do. I can't tell.
Yeah, well, let us know. All right, Justin and Jason, till next time. I enjoyed those cloudy days.